And all right, cool. Okay, guys, so I did just want to say hello and officially welcome. This is our second edition of something new that we have been trying, and we started it last week. I think it's going to be a really awesome series that we're now doing here for the Star Atlas community Twitter spaces known as the Future of. Right now, our current one is the Future of Web3 Gaming, where we're going to be talking to builders in the space, thought leaders in the space, just, a lot of people who have really great visions and ideas of where we think that this is going, and just want to pick their brains, hear their thoughts, and see what we have going on. Hello, Santi. How are you doing today, my friend?
Hello, Ash. Doing really good today. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure always to co-host with you, and a pleasure to have George, an awesome guest. And I would say Star Atlas OG as well.
Definitely a Star Atlas OG. Yes.
Nice to see you, Santi, and yeah, great to be here, Ash.
Awesome. So today, you guys, I do have real quick, I just want to pin up to the top. We are doing a little giveaway with this space today. Let me grab it real quick. We are doing a little giveaway today. If you just want to go ahead and tweet out the room, tell us what it is that excites you about Web3 gaming. We already have some really cool responses going into it, but I want to hear what excites our community about Web3 gaming. So I'm going to go ahead and pin this to the top. And if you guys just want to retweet this one out, you'll be entered to win a Thimble Lobby is what we are giving out today. And I will be giving that out live on this Twitter space at the very end. So stay tuned until the end. And today we have a very special guest. Today we have the co-founder of Step Finance, an OG in the Star Atlas ecosystem and the Solana ecosystem as well, George Harrop. How are you doing today, George?
I'm great. Yes, I've been traveling quite a bit recently, and I'm well awake now. I'm ready to go. So let's get into it.
Awesome. All right, cool. Well, let's just go ahead and kick it off. So for those who aren't familiar, can you talk a little bit about Step, a little bit, the history, why you started it, and the solutions that it offers to people?
Yeah, absolutely. So Step was, I guess, one of the original sort of Solana batch of projects that started when there wasn't really much else on Solana. So I think when we got started, it was maybe the first hackathon, maybe the second hackathon, something like that, and we were sort of coming at it from the perspective of let's try and build something cool. We'll sort of see where it goes, and that was basically myself and my co-founder Aaron at the time. And what we built was a contract that can maybe do a DCA. So a DCA is kind of like a dollar cost averaging. It's a thing where you put some money in and then you tell it to buy some money like once a week. So you put in some 100 USDT and maybe you buy some Sol like once a week for the next 10 weeks or something like that. So we initially started off at that, but through sort of the hackathon and through these things, we decided, actually what Solana's missing is really just one key place to keep track of all of these different weird contracts that are popping up everywhere. So there was a couple of AMMs starting, there was some yield farms, there was the DEX, there was a lot of different things. But if you wanted to know where your money was, like you had to have like 10 different tabs open, which was totally annoying. And then you lose stuff and you forget and blah, blah, blah. So anyway, we pivoted to build Step into that one place that you can go, which just shows you everything about your wallet. And that's what we are today, essentially. That's our core product. We call it the portfolio dashboard. So it's really we have to integrate with the entire ecosystem. So everyone from Star Atlas to yield farming projects to complex financial things, whatever it might be, we have to integrate with everyone. And essentially, when you connect your wallet, you're able to see everything that's going on in your wallet. So that's sort of the first sort of iteration of Step as a portfolio dashboard. But as we've sort of gone on, this is now a year and a half later, we're actually sort of thinking, well, you know what? We started off, with all of these custom integrations, and what would be great is if we could leverage that to show the data behind those integrations. So that's kind of where we're going now. Is we're building out the brand new product, which is essentially data analytics for Solana and Solana projects, specifically sort of deep level project specific analytics. So it's like, what's the APY of this thing over here? In the NFT space, we recently had an acquisition of an NFT platform, and that's all about, okay, show us what collections are trending, what they're doing, pricing over time, all data that really you need to have an informed perspective of everything. So that's sort of what Step is now. It's all about the data. It's all about what's going on in your wallet right now, but also, pretty soon before the end of the year, it'll be sort of what's going on across the entire ecosystem, across all of these different projects. So yeah, maybe that's a bit of an intro to Step.
Yeah, I think that that's really, it's really interesting because you mentioned, and I did put it up for the top for anybody who's curious about that, but you guys recently acquired Solana Floor. And I don't know, I think that that is going to offer some incredible insight going forward. And I can't wait to see how you guys develop that in the future. What was some of the motivation behind that acquisition for you guys at Step?
Yeah, totally. So at Step, we came out of the DeFi world. That was sort of our expertise, and that's what we knew. And that was sort of where all of our integrations, all of our work, all of our day-to-day stuff was. But it's not just DeFi in this space, as we're probably going to get into. It's gaming and NFTs and that sort of thing. And I think what we've seen over the last, say, 6 to 8 months is that NFTs on Solana have really taken off. You've got a lot of marketplaces which are, in some respects, the largest marketplace in the entire world for NFTs. And we saw that this was a space that we were lacking, really. We didn't have the in-house knowledge for the NFT space. We were sort of very financial specific to DeFi stuff. So we're like, okay, we've got to plug this gap. Clearly this is a thing which is happening. This is a thing which we need to be part of. And as part of our integrations, we were working with the Solana Floor team. We were using their API to get pricing information for our NFT gallery in Step. And we just got discussing with them. We launched a fund last year that essentially we're looking to invest in other data products on Solana. So any teams out there that are building cool data stuff, like we want to chat with you. But this was the first usage of the fund. So it's essentially to invest in, offer grants, or acquire different data projects. So that's what sort of transpired. Was we got discussing with Solana Floor. We said, hey, look, I think you're going in the same direction that we're going. And look, it's been really good, ever since. And Solana Floor teams come on board, and we're looking to integrate a lot of their data analytics stuff into Step very soon. But it's also we're trying to be this bridge in the ecosystem as well, because what we've noticed is a lot of DeFi people, like, they don't talk to the NFT people, and the NFT people don't talk to the DeFi people. Sometimes they don't even know that they exist. So there needs to be some sort of bridge and some sort of overlap. In fact, I think someone did that on Twitter recently, where there was those things where you can put in your Twitter wallet, and then you can your wallet. Here we go. Your Twitter account, and then you can compare it to other people, and you can see like people that are more closely related to you, like clustered together visually. And anyway, the TLDR was that you could clearly see that all of the NFT people followed other NFT influencers and other people in that ecosystem, and all the DeFi people were quite separate, and they followed their own influencers and own sort of projects and people. So there clearly is a gap, and I think that we're sort of doing our best to try and bridge that gap as well. So that's sort of a bit about Solana Floor.
Yeah, so that is a really interesting point that you bring up, though, because when we think of crypto Twitter as a whole, we think it's just all of us here hanging out on crypto Twitter, but there's really these little subcultures and communities that are broken up within it. And like you said, like a lot of the DeFi people, they don't really jump over to the NFT crowd or even the Bitcoin crowd, right? Like everybody's kind of still separated. And I do think that a tool such as this would be really interesting and cool and could have a lot of potential to help bridge that gap and bring people together. And I think I really I love this acquisition of Solana Floor. I think Solana Floor is really awesome in the way that it showcases the different projects and communities, right? Like it really helps break down like the different holders, like the amount of holders and stuff. So if you're interested in looking into or joining a specific community, or if you're just interested in looking at all the different communities and see how they're broken down, Solana Floor is a really cool tool for that. So I'm watching how this like unfolds in the future. I think it's going to be really cool. All
Absolutely.
right. All right, cool. So now Santi and I have called you a Star Atlas OG, George. You have been like Step Finance and Star Atlas have been together since the beginning, right? Like it's been an awesome relationship. Like honestly, I remember when I first got into Star Atlas, and when I before I even worked for the project officially, like Step Finance was the easiest and cleanest way to to see your ships and to manually settle everything. And I absolutely loved that. And that's actually what I would tell other people in the community, like, hey, just hop onto Step Finance. And I would tell people, like, this is the easiest way to make sure that you can see everything right there, so that you're not freaking out, because a lot of people had a hard time with manually settling their stuff in the beginning, and you guys really made that clean and easy for people to deal with, to handle. What's up? You have a go for it, Santi.
I just wanted to echo what you're saying and I experienced myself the benefits of the Step Finance by being a user of the platform, and our moderators and everyone in our team. We always redirect to Step Finance and it saves us many hours of like going through wallets and stuff like that. It's always like you don't know what happened with something, just go check Step Finance, and that's and we do that. And also, George, you guys have been supporting also data tools for Star Atlas that were created by Star Atlas community members. So that is awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, look, on that point as well, like we have sponsored two different independent Star Atlas specific data platforms as well, and yeah, look, we're super happy to do that. So yeah, the more the merrier. It sort of came out from we just wanted to have really cool tools to monitor our Star Atlas stuff. Like we wanted to keep track of our ships and staking and all this kind of stuff, and so it's kind of like build the tools that you want to see. And yeah, that was certainly. I think we're just going to continue to do that. And yeah, I guess with the Star Atlas sort of relationship as well, and sort of how we first got started. Like I think pretty much back in the beginning when you guys were kicking off and we were kicking off, it was kind of a natural fit. Like we did the first AR integration. I remember that was like the big sort of heavy lift thing that that we did at Step, was integrating the Star Atlas posters. That was awesome. And then so you go to the Step gallery, and then you could see the Star Atlas poster and set up the AR and all that sort of stuff. So that was really cool. And then what else did we do? Yes, the settling of the different orders and stuff like that when it was using the decks and the older system. So that was also great to see. Yeah, and we've recently had the staking of ships as well that we've integrated, and of course pricing for all of the ships as well. We're the first to do that one as well, to get all of that pricing from the on-chain order books. And that's actually it's a non-trivial task, because people think like, oh, let me just like, what's the price of my spaceship or something? And it's like, well, what is the price? That's actually a really good question, because is it the bid? Is it the ask? Is it the mid price? Is it the last price? Is it like, if I sold 10 of them, like what could I get? Like, so it has to account for liquidity. So there was actually quite a few sort of discussions internally that we had of how do we quantify and measure this kind of stuff. But I think we sort of came upon a happy medium, and that's where we're at now. But yeah, totally. Like we all love Star Atlas. We all all using Star Atlas since the beginning as well, and staking and doing stuff. So yeah, I think it's a really good fit for the two communities, and that's also what we want to do at Step, is like we want to build tools that make people's lives easier. So, we have that with a couple of different on-chain things, like the settling of the order book kind of stuff. And it's like, what can we build for the Star Atlas community which just makes life easier? And, if you can see all of your different wallet stuff in one location, you can see the AR and everything like that. That certainly makes sense. So yeah, we're super pumped to be doing stuff with Star Atlas. It's probably going to be the next thing. I don't know what. Oh, actually, I do know what the next thing will be, but there is a next thing coming very soon.
Ooh, alpha drop? No, just kidding. So, George, no, I do have a really important question for you right now. This is probably the most important question of the entire space. It's not on my outline. I'm sorry, but I got to know, what faction have you decided on?
Ooh, now I selected, I think like a year ago or something. I think it was with the robot people.
Oh, the
Those,
Ooster.
yeah, yes, yeah, that's me. And I think the rest of
Very
the team
cool.
is also pretty much on the same side there.
You're all Oosters. So Step Finance is a team of Oosters. I think that'll make the community very happy.
Very cool, very cool.
I love it. I love it. All right, cool. Okay, so I let's get a little more into like the GameFi conversation. I love that you guys are that you guys are into Star Atlas, you're into the GameFi space. There's been this talk going around about the difference between play to earn gaming versus play and earn versus play and play. I would love to hear your opinions on that and if you see these as important distinctions and why.
Yeah, totally. So I guess this also comes back to what I was saying before about, we want to build useful tools to make people's lives easier because how we came across this was essentially we're like, look, there's a lot of people doing stuff on Star Atlas, and what can we, add value there, and what can we really do? And I think what Star Atlas has shown is that whether it's however people want to classify it, whether it's like play to earn or play to play or whatever it might be or whatever it might end up with, there's clearly a lot of people who are going to be doing stuff on chain, and I think that's going to be one of the big innovations. Is it's no longer just a case of, okay, I buy a game from the Steam store and I pay some money and that's about it, and I might just lose money over time because that money's gone. That's generally how gaming has been for since forever, right? So I think we're on the precipice of something which is going to be pretty great because I always say to like gaming people, it's like, man, why are you spending money in like, I don't know, the EA store or whatever it might be, that might not be NFT enabled or have in-game currency mechanisms and that sort of thing, when you could maybe focus on being on the cusp of the new kind of gaming where not only can you spend money, but you can make money, you can like, there's like a full economy and everything that's, you can work out how to balance it correctly. Maybe you and your clan go and do stuff that increases the economic productivity in some way. Like there's just a lot of ways that you can try and cut this thing. So that's what it really excites me about the space. And I guess that the differences between the play to earn, like, so we first had, I guess, the play to earn boom was with Axie, right? And that sort of brought about everyone. Well, the concept was, well, this could be your salary and you could do this every day. The thing is that it's got to be very sustainable for that to happen, and it's got to have a lot of feedback loops within it for the ecosystem to work. I love Axie. I love what they've been doing, and they're certainly pioneers in the space. But I think I don't know if that's the way that things are going to go forward, whereby it's all kind of about the economic incentives. It's maybe less about the gameplay and stuff like that. And then you've got play to play, where it's like, look, game first. You've got to have a really great game. If everyone has a great game, then it's going to be a success. So just focus on building a good game. And then maybe the middle ground, maybe where Star Atlas is sort of this area where you can play the game. You can like, it is a game first and foremost, and that's the most important thing. But there are like economic parts to it here and there, which you can find interesting ways to do stuff with. I always give the example of, I can't wait until I can, on Star Atlas, say there's like some sort of spaceship or a planet or something like that, where because everything's on chain, like I could, let's say, short that planet on the DEX on some sort of DeFi protocol. Then I could get my clan together and we could go and raid it or something like that, and then that reduces the value some way of that particular in-game item or object or whatever. And then you can close your short, and then you can basically be a real life pirate um, in game, of course. But it's like, it's cool stuff like that, right? Where all of these just like weird things that you never really think of now become possible. So that's what I'm excited about, and I think that for us, we want to be there to support that ecosystem grow and build cool stuff that we're going to use as well because we're going to be playing. So yeah, it's just stuff like that which I think is far more interesting than where gaming has been for the last couple of decades. And once people get that, it's going to be super exciting because it's going to be like a light bulb moment where people are like, oh, wait a minute, I can actually do these crazy things, and oh, I earned this in-game item. okay, maybe you go lend that out on some sort of DeFi protocol, or maybe you stake it in an AMM, or there's a whole bunch of different things that you could do that's not just dependent on the game itself. So it's not just the Star Atlas community that comes up with that thing. It could be some random third-party website does something cool, and they build something, and everyone can go and use it and make use of it. So yeah, look, I think those sort of open possibilities are really exciting.
Awesome, man. I love the answer, and I totally agree. I think, I mean, it's our vision as well. Like, I really think that gaming and games actually being fun that are integrated with blockchain is what is going to drive like the next billion of users to crypto. So I really think that you touch on it a little bit. The game should be fun, and that is something that Star Atlas has. It's one of the main focus. If the game isn't fun, then there is no engagement or constant loop from the people. So it's not going to be sustainable in the future. So it's first enjoying the game and then thinking about, okay, so this is actually an NFT. I could sell this. I actually have value here by playing this. And that's something that it's also tied, for example, to Step Finance. You can import your wallet connected to Step Finance and see that actually the ships that you are using have real value, And that is the longer term vision, but I totally agree with what you said, George.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I have a follow up to this one, George. We know that you have been here around for a long time, but what made you feel excited about Star Atlas, specifically Star Atlas, and what got you hooked? Why did you decide to build tools for the Star Atlas ecosystem?
Yeah, it's a good question. I guess I saw a lot of the other Web3 games around, and I don't know, they just didn't appeal to me personally of what I wanted to do. Like, I've always grown up playing like, StarCraft and stuff like that, right? So I want the epic space kind of adventures and stuff, and Mass Effect. I love Mass Effect. So those sorts of things. And I was like, wow, okay, Star Atlas is trying to recreate some of that, and have a big open universe, and it's going to be integrated with the crypto stuff, which I love and do every day. So it's kind of like, okay, this is something worth looking at, and that's, I think, yeah, that's just what sort of first got me interested. Was, wow, these guys are trying to do this and build something which would appeal to me and sort of what I want to do. So yeah, I think that would be that'd be great fun. I think as well, on our previous AMA the other month, we discussed like having in-game meetings as well. That'd be like a cool thing. So yeah, like whether it's on the Step Finance spaceship in some capacity, we'll get everyone together, and then yeah, maybe we'll do that instead of a Discord call. That sounds like fun. But yeah, it's just cool stuff like that, right? So yeah, I think Star Atlas is onto something, and I think that's super exciting. And like the community shows it, right? Like the community that's being built around it. And we noticed this when we started sponsoring these sort of side, data, third party data provider, people that are doing stuff in the Star Atlas ecosystem. The ecosystem's just kind of flourished and grown, and there's just a lot of people that are popping up, just doing cool stuff, and guilds and things like that as well. So we were just sort of really excited to see that. We're like, wow, this is a real community that's growing here. So yeah, how can we not only be part of it, but add something valuable for the people that are in it? So that's all the stuff that we've been building. It's like, okay, we definitely think gaming is a thing. So let's just it's kind of like the Solana Floor acquisition, where we're like, okay, we know NFTs are a thing. We need to be part of that. How do we be part of that? With Star, this is kind of like, okay, we know that gaming is a thing on Web3. We need to build stuff that is related to that, and really sort of be part of that ecosystem. So yeah, that's sort of a bit about why we got into it.
Thank you, man. Great answer. And it's the power of community. And again, from my side, I want to thank you again for supporting the creators, the builders in the Star Atlas ecosystem. When I see these guys like working hard in the community, asking questions, trying to figure out how to pull data from this and all that, and them working hard and like putting together these great tools, like for example, Red Spatula. I know that you guys sponsored them, and then one day just because I use those tools personally, one day just using it and seeing like sponsored by Step Finance, and I think, wow, this is great. Like our community, like they also feel appreciated by people like you. So again, big shout out to Step, and thank you for helping develop the ecosystem.
Absolutely. Yeah, look, we want to put our money where our mouth is and really fund the builders, and that's what we're all about, and that's what we're looking for. So hey, if there are any other builders out there that are building really cool like data related stuff, definitely come say hello.
I will connect you with a few, George, for sure.
Love it. That'd be awesome.
I love it. I love it. So okay. So there's a lot of talk, which I think is really important around, these Web3, which you both touched on right now, about these Web3 games being fun and making sure that they're fun for the community. And that's something that will help, set these games apart from one another. But I also think that it's interesting is the circular economies, the virtual economies that are being built in these Web3 games. And I kind of see those as being, a differentiator from a lot of the traditional gaming as well. What are your thoughts on that, George? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so I think the best example of sort of in-game economies has definitely been like MMOs, right? Where you've got everyone interacting with each other at the same time. You can earn gold in most cases, and then you can also remove money from the economy by spending it and doing stuff that way. It's interesting though, because I think some of the games of late, let's say like World of Warcraft, that sort of, it has no set inflation rate, or it depends on the amount of players that are doing stuff and how much they save. And so but it does create a really interesting sort of dynamic where people might change their gameplay based on what the economy is doing. So if everyone needs a particular raw resource, then people might just focus on that part of the gameplay, or they might build out their character to be more optimized for that. And if that's not the case, it might be something else. So it does have gameplay changing aspects to it, which I think is the cool part. And then secondly, like it's kind of a mini game in and of itself. World of Warcraft had the auction house, and a lot of people would just hang out and play with that and do cool stuff on that all day. That's probably a famous example of it. But I think the ability to change gameplay is one thing, and the ability to create just sort of more random subgenres. So it might be, oh, you're really good at making a particular weapon or something, or you're really good at crafting in some capacity. And I think all of that kind of stuff can get like supercharged when you have like a real sort of actual cryptocurrency behind it that has inflation rates, and it can't just be created or botted or anything like that. And it's going to be interesting, to see it all sort of unfold. But I think it just does create more interesting gameplay elements which weren't in existence before, because often you just had to rely on the developers to sort of create everything in an in-game economy, and they're sort of the gods of the economy, and they can decide what a new sort of thing is worth and what piece of armor is worth, and that might heavily influence how the economy and gameplay works. But what if that was sort of just set by the market, and it was just people who really want to create that piece of armor are the ones who dictate the price, and maybe everyone just starts doing that one day, and maybe that changes the way that particular market and server works. Everyone starts making that armor. Okay, now the price comes down because everyone's doing it. And then everyone goes, okay, well, we're not going to do that anymore. We'll do something else. So I think it's just going to change things in interesting ways.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be very interesting to see how it plays out. And also, you mentioned World of Warcraft, and also something I want to add is that difference of you actually everything you said on the market and all that, but also the difference of you actually owning the things and the progression and the time you spend. It's basically also owning your time spent in the game and being able to monetize from that after. If you want to sell, I don't know, your World of Warcraft account, you need to go to a black market. You can even get penalized for that. and even if something changes from the game, that account is obsolete then. And so changing that as well, like rewarding the time of the gamer with actual monetary value, it's a game changer.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So where do you see this going? If you had like a crystal ball and you could look a few years into the future, where do you see this space heading, George?
It's a good question. Often I don't like making predictions in crypto more than 6 months ahead, because we could all have flying cars and be in our own spaceships by then. So the pace at which crypto moves. So who knows? But I don't know. I would say that certainly I think there's a lot of interest behind Web3 gaming, and that sort of comes down to this in-game economy stuff, which we're talking about. I think a lot of people are trying to get that right. No one's really nailed it yet, and that's because I think people might be thinking about the economy first before they actually think about the game. So I think step one: build a really good game that everyone likes and wants to play. That's just step one. And then step two: okay, the economy stuff, maybe you can overlay it, from there. Because really, like, if you took a lot of the AAA games out right now, and if you maybe created some sort of crypto ecosystem behind them, I think that would be it's much easier, and B, I think it would be much more successful, and that might sort of introduce people to the whole concept of it. So I think you will see AAA games emerge, whether they're Web3 native first, or whether they're like more, I guess, traditional studios that try and use the Web3 kind of stuff. I don't know, but I do think the Web3 native games have an absolute advantage. I was at a conference like a year or two ago, I think, and it was the Axie guys on stage, and they were saying, "Oh, what do you think if one big publisher comes in and they try and dominate the metaverse sort of space, and they try and do all this stuff?" They made the good point that these larger sort of established gaming companies, they don't get the whole idea of the IP is owned by the community, and the community creates a lot of the IP, and the community creates a lot of the interactions. And they might come at it, and you've seen some examples already where traditional game publishers, they're like, "Oh, we own 95% of the IP, and we create everything, and you have to buy it from us on our store to begin with." And it's like, man, you don't really get it, do you? Like, it should actually be created by the community and dictated by what the community wants and does, and they're the ones who come up with that, especially the pricing and where to buy it and blah blah blah. So that's where I think that the Web3 native ones like Star Atlas have a definite leg up in that respect, in that they can come from it from a totally different perspective and can just compete on a different playing field. And I think that where the cards will fall will be that people will be like, actually the Web3 native ones are way better. That's just way more freeing, and you can do just way more cool stuff. And they don't want to go to some proprietary store. We were talking about before, like using your in-game items to go and get a loan in DeFi or something. Like, you could do that. You could do that on Star Atlas. Like, someone can accept a spaceship as collateral to give you a soul loan or something like that, or it could be a whole bunch of different things that nobody's ever even thought of. But stuff like that is not going to happen in these closed ecosystems with existing game publishers. They just don't get it. And even if they did, they would be hesitant to do it anyway. So yeah, I think that's going to be the exciting new wave, is just all of these different areas that it unlocks from like third parties that are able to. It's kind of like the modding community, I guess, where you had games in the past where some of them had really active modding communities that could build mods for the game like 5-10 years after the game came out, and it's still active and played because of that, because the community is like creating and directing a lot of that content. So yeah, I see it sort of similar parallels there.
Do you kind of see it as becoming its own genre of gaming as it evolves? Or do you, I mean, we are technically our own genre right now, but we're in such like a nascent stage still. But as it grows and evolves, do you see it becoming its own genre and taking its own like path? Or do you see Web3 gaming trickling more into traditional once they realize what is going on and how they can benefit off of it?
Yeah, I think it will be its own genre for quite a while to come. But then eventually it's probably just going to become the mainstream. Like, I think that if you're not doing Web3 stuff 5 years from now, you're just not going to be competitive. And there's going to be other games out there which just have a much more compelling value proposition. Having said that, maybe it's suitable for certain types of games. Like, with Star Atlas, it's a big open world, exploration and that sort of thing. But that's not every game. There might be games that are, I don't know, 2D kind of things or whatever it might be. And maybe it doesn't make sense to have Web3 stuff there. So I think it will be in its own genre. It'll probably take over a lot of those larger, like the MMO genre and stuff like that. I think MMOs are definitely the first candidate to adopt, Web3 kind of stuff. And then, yeah, we'll sort of see where it goes from there, I think. But yeah, I think it's definitely going to be a really sort of big force that maybe is going to hit a lot of the existing publishers. They'll think it's from nowhere, but really we've been seeing this building for quite a few years now.
I agree. I think it's going to be, I think it makes sense for MMOs, and I think that it will kind of go along its own path for a little while until I think one day, like, they're just going to realize, like, holy cow, this is what's really going on, and this is how we can utilize it. And this is what I think once, like, the gaming community realizes what they can do with this and how they can, and how it benefits them as a whole, I think we'll see it kind of take off more or trickle into more traditional gaming types.
Totally. I totally agree. And I think that's going to change in the coming years when we have AAA titles that are actually fun. And not only speaking about Stratos, but there are a lot of great games being built with blockchain integration. And it's coming back a little bit in the conversation when it's like the game needs to be fun, so the gamers like want to play it, and they don't care if it's blockchain. They don't even need to know if they are playing a blockchain game. It's just they're playing it because it's fun, and then when they start playing, they realize that they can actually experience the benefits of it being connected to the chain, and that is going to be the game changer, in my opinion.
Absolutely. So I like to look at Web3 gaming as like it's a huge onboarding opportunity, right? For a lot of people. The traditional gaming world, I think, is like 2.2, it was like 2 to 3 billion people, right? And gamers are usually, they're usually the first to adopt new things, but they're more open to certain types of stuff in the digital world, I guess is the right way to say it. I don't know. But they're usually more open to adopting digital like economies and that kind of stuff as well, right? So George, how do you see the next like million people being introduced to crypto and, more importantly, onboarded and engaged in this space?
Yeah, totally. So I think education is really important to onboarding people. And just on that front, I guess, we recently have a step.finance/learn, and it's essentially a page where we have a bunch of different guides on how to make your wallet, how to do stuff. It might be how to swap a coin, how to do all these different things. We recently did that a couple of weeks ago, and it's been going great. We've got a few people coming to us and going, hey, these guides are quite interesting, and can we write more? So I think number one is there needs to be educational content out there in the first instance. Number two, also, what I'm most excited about is, so yesterday we deployed translations for STEP. So we now have Turkish language, support on STEP, which actually, so Turkish is our number 2 audience. And when you think about it, like a lot of this Web3 stuff, it's really, unfortunately, still sort of siloed within an English language community. I dare say there's not that many documentations or whatever it might be in, say, I don't know, Indonesian Bahasa on the Solana ecosystem, or wherever it might be, right? So I think there's a really big market and certainly people out there that really need the content in their own language. So we're trying to do what we can on that front, and converting a lot of STEP to be multilingual. So I think that's an important part of the onboarding process as well, is having relevant content in the local language for everyone, because it's a global world as well, especially in Web3. And number 3, I think, sort of on the education front as well. I used to think that you had to, so let's say you had a complex crypto product, you had to sort of build it to really try and onboard somebody who has completely no idea, and that might often really sort of hamper what you're trying to do. So but let's say 5-6 years ago in crypto, everyone had to have a fiat on ramp in some way, right? So if you had whatever crypto application you had to have a local bank and local fiat support, and you had to deal with all of the horrible stuff around maintaining a bank account as a crypto company and blah blah blah. And a lot of companies got so held up in that they weren't able to really build out their product. So the difference now, though, is that there's so many people in crypto and Web3 that you can build crypto native stuff that only targets crypto people, and you can still have a viable business model because there's just so many people. There's tens of millions now using all this stuff. So you don't really you can just focus on building the really cool stuff in the crypto metaverse and crypto only, and you don't need any sort of real world tethers, I guess, to real world stuff, which can hamper development and slow you down and stuff like that. So I think that's also going to be an important thing, whereby it's maybe not so much education for the average person who's never heard about what crypto is. That's certainly important, and those people, certainly they are being onboarded in various different ways for all sorts of different crypto companies. But I think certainly the Web3 gaming space, it's just focus on the crypto natives that are already there. They already understand all of this kind of stuff. And, maybe that's a good way forward. And I think that's probably makes sense for a lot of game studios as well, is you don't want to spend a lot of time trying to solve the problems of on-ramping and onboarding when, that's a massive task. And you could spend your whole life trying to do that. So it's kind of just focus on building a really cool Web3 game, and there'll be existing people that will be able to take up that mantle, and we'll get it on day one. So yeah.
Yeah, see, I agree with that. I think I like to look at the Web3 gaming space as almost the back door into getting people into crypto. I don't know if that sounds appropriate or not, but it's an easier way of onboarding non-crypto natives into the crypto space, right? You get them in because they're interested in playing this really fun kick-ass game that they just want to play. And then they're then introduced to NFTs, and then after that they're introduced to DeFi primitives and that kind of stuff, and the tokens. And so it's like an easier way to onboard people and help educate them slowly into some of this stuff, because I know DeFi can be really daunting, right? For a lot of people, it can be a really scary topic. And I think that's what we saw with the 2017-18 cycle. And I know that kind of scared some people off, right, in the beginning. And so I think with Web3 gaming, we've found this easier way to bring people in and show them the world of crypto in this space, but then also slowly teach them, the benefits and the applications and stuff that it can have for that. I think that it's going to be a great opportunity to onboard a lot of people. And I think we're just going to continue having a lot of fun here in the Web3 gaming space too, because so far it's been absolutely an incredible ride.
Absolutely. And I think you're right where, look, if the game is fun to play, that's the first sort of bridge to cross. And that's the first thing that's going to onboard people. That's the first thing that's going to get people interested. And then because they're interested, they're going to look at other areas. What's an NFT? How do I trade it? How do I swap it for another NFT or something like that? So I think, it's kind of a snowball effect, which will just happen because people will just be genuinely interested in doing that. And that's where the content comes in. That's where, people like Step come in with building tools and different stuff for people to do things. So it's number one, just build really cool games that people like and want to use. And then once they're enjoying it and having fun in the game, then they'll figure out all of this different kind of stuff, and they'll figure out all of this other ecosystem that's around it. And then I think people, once they realize that, they're like, oh, wow, this is totally different to what I've been doing before. And also, people already spend a lot on in-game items and in-game stores already. There's literally billions. There's billions of dollars are spent on this every year. But it's you spend the money, you buy a new skin in the game or something like that, and then the money's gone. Whereas the Web3 side, you can spend that money, but then you could just go and sell that particular skin or spaceship or armor or whatever it might be. You could go and sell that later. You get your money back. So it's just fundamentally a better proposition for people than the current iteration. And once people get that, I think it's going to be really huge. But I think what it takes to get there is someone really needs to crack the AAA Web3 native game, and then once then it's game over. Everyone will just adapt to it and go from there. So yeah, look, I'm super excited, and that's probably going to be Starless. So I'm along for the journey. Let's go.
Well, I like the way you think, George. I'm sure Santi does as well. So we all believe it too. So that's why we're all here every day building this incredible project and incredible space. So I think we're in for a ride, you guys, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So, all right. Okay, guys. So we are coming up on an hour, and we do have a little bit of a giveaway going on. Right now as well. I will announce the winner in just a few minutes, but I have been absolutely loving this conversation. It's been so great to have you up here, George, and to learn from you and your experiences and to hear your opinions on where you think everything is going right now. Are you okay? If there's anybody in the audience, if you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to come up. I'll bring you up. I see some of our guilds, some of our guild leaders down there, our big community members. Hello, everybody. If you guys want to hop on up here and chat for a few minutes, you feel free. You're more than welcome to. But I do got to know, George, one last question. Is there anything that you are most excited about coming up? Whether it's, something personal with Step Finance, your projects that you guys have in the works, or just something in this crypto space in general? What's something that you're really excited about that just gets you motivated and moving?
Yeah, I guess it's got to be step related. I'm really pumped for what we're building on the data side, and right now I like to differentiate on-chain data into different levels. So you've got your level one data, I call it, is something that's like, what's the blockchain doing? How many transactions are in, are the blocks there or not? What's really happening with the nodes? That's kind of information which is shared to everyone, and everyone's sort of aware of that. So that we would say that's level one data. Level two data might be something like Nansen Insights or Glassnode or something like that, where they're showing you information about what wallets are doing. So what are the whales doing right now? What swaps are happening between certain wallets that are doing things? So that's what I would say level two data. So level three data is what we're going for at Step. And that's more project specific data. That's sort of what we want our niche to be. And that's sort of what we've already done, because we've integrated like literally 95% of the entire Solana ecosystem into Step already to show on our portfolio dashboard. So now it's a matter of being able to showcase that data in a form that people can look at. So it might be, what's the APYs of a lending protocol over the last 6 months? Did this token do well or not? Or how many people hold this particular LP in Saber or Serum or something like that? As opposed to people who don't, or what's the yield of staking your soul versus something else, or your Polis yield over time, stuff like that are specific to individual projects. That would be level three data, and that's something that no one really does. That there's not anyone right now that is providing, both from the Ethereum ecosystem and the Solana ecosystem, project level insights for a whole bunch of different stuff. So that's what we're going for. And yeah, that's essentially what we want the Step V2 to be all about. Of course, our core product's still going to be, the dashboard, but how we differentiate it is the dashboard tells you what is happening with your wallet right now. But we also want a part of Step to tell you, well, what's not your wallet and what's happening out there. So like what's happening in the rest of the Solana ecosystem. And yeah, it would showcase a lot of this, in-depth project data. So that's what I'm super pumped about. We got an awesome team that's all building towards that. And yeah, I'm super pumped for the rest of this year. And we'll get to see everyone soon at the Lisbon conference as well, for the Solana ecosystem. So if any Star Atlas peeps are there, let us know and we'll hang out. So yeah, super excited for all that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm excited about that too. That sounds awesome to get an even, deeper insight on some of the analytics across multiple ecosystems. I think that's going to be a pretty kick-ass tool, George. All righty, guys. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, yeah, we think so too. Can't wait for you guys to see it.
I am looking forward to that. I think it's going to be cool. Alrighty, guys. So I do have a winner picked from a randomized winner that was picked from our little contest we had going on today, and he is here in the audience as well. So, or at least you were. I just saw you in here. Okay. Well, you were here for the majority of the show. But so I just want to say congratulations, John Keel. And I love it because you still have the 4 to 6 in your Twitter handle. That is awesome. But so the question was, what excites you for the Web3 space? And his response was, in general, what excites me the most from Web3 gaming is asset ownership, in particular from Star Atlas, the complex micro universe that will allow for so many different play styles: farming, producing assets, trading, battling, exploring, or politics. So that is awesome. Congratulations. You just won yourself a Thimble Lobby. I will be contacting you very shortly. And I got to say, this was an awesome space, an awesome conversation. Thank you so much for coming in and chatting with us, George. I just have one more thing for you before we go. Is there any type of advice, and it doesn't need to be crypto related, just any type of advice that you would like to leave with the audience?
Oh, that's a good one. I think just get out and do stuff, whatever it might be in your life. Certainly in crypto land, it's there's a lot of projects out there that want to build things. It's like, cool, let's like just go and do it. Step one is doing, and then after that, all of the other things which people think about. Oh, how am I going to do this or that, or raise money, or talk to different other people in the ecosystem? Just step one, just go and do it. Start in a good community. Like there's for example, Solana projects, there's hackathons, lots of cool stuff. Join a team, do that kind of thing, and yeah, just sort of get into it. So yeah, I just do that. But thank you so much for having me today, Ash and Santi. It's been a pleasure.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us. All right, everybody. Well, that wraps it up. Santi, is there anything from your end on the community on the community side that you want to let us know before we close out?
Just to stay tuned. I'm feeling good about everything that is going on behind the scenes. So stay tuned to our news. And just want to thank again George for joining us today and for supporting the Star Atlas community. And when Step Finance Guild in Star Atlas?
Yeah.
Ooh, good question. I think we need to have meetings on a spaceship at some point. That's what we're going to do. We're going to do like a weekly internal step calls on a spaceship at some stage. So that's the end goal.
Yeah, and I'll probably connect you with some Star Atlas builders that are building some data tracking and data visualization tools. So that's awesome as well.
Absolutely, sounds good.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for attending our second edition of the Future of Web3 Gaming. Today, our special guest was George Harrop, co-founder of Step Finance. Make sure that you follow along with George and Step Finance because they have some incredibly awesome things coming out in the future. And Solana Floor as well, which is their new acquisition. It's going to be giving you guys some awesome insights into these NFT communities and projects going forward. I can't wait to see what you guys have, developing and coming out in the future. And I know that we're all just really excited to be here building in this space and helping everything grow and evolve. So thank you so much, George. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody, and we will catch you next week.
Thanks so much. See you later, guys.